project. So for this project, I chose Sleeping Giant State Park. So the reason why I chose Sleeping Giant State Park in Hamden, Connecticut is because it's been a very important location and a very important site of nature in my life. So this picture is taken from the Lockwood Research Farm that my dad manages for the Connecticut Agricultural Experiment Station. And I chose this picture because you can kind of see why it's called Sleeping Giant, which is because if you look at the image, it kind of looks like a giant laying down and sleeping with the head on one end and then the stomach and the knees and the feet at the end. So one of the biggest examples of the Anthropocene at Sleeping Giant State Park is this observation tower that was built between the 20s and 30s. This tower was used for observation, and it really shows the human impact on the mountain because it's one of the most iconic parts of the mountain and why a lot of people go. So the first human impact on the mountain that I've chosen to discuss is soil erosion. So there's a lot of natural soil erosion that happens on the mountain because of rain. In some areas, there's not a lot of trees, so a lot of the erosion happens. But there's a difference between natural erosion and erosion caused by humans, and it's pretty evident in some areas of the mountain. So this area is actually by a river or a stream. It's kind of in the middle. It's like too big to be a stream, but too small to be a river. So this is the roots of a tree near one of the trails. So the roots of the tree are there's a lot of erosion that happens there naturally. However, to the extent that it's happening here, where the erosion has gotten so bad that the roots of the tree are now fully exposed, is caused mainly not by rain like it would naturally be caused, but is caused by humans walking over the tree because it's right on a trail. It's on the Purple Trail, I believe, if you choose to go. So I actually went a couple weeks ago and took these pictures on the trail. So there's this area, which is right by the stream, as I mentioned, and it's a lot of erosion caused by humans to where the roots are completely exposed. Here's another example of another tree where it's even worse. So the roots on this tree are completely above ground. River alteration. So as I mentioned before, there's a small river that goes kind of around the mountain over by where the Purple Trail is. So this is an example of where the river was once dammed. So according to the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, there's over 4,000 dams that are in Connecticut. So this used to be one of them. This one, as you can kind of see, is damaged and is no longer damming the river as it was earlier. So I went out on the dam and I got this picture, and you can see where the river has kind of taken it back as the dam was kind of left to just fall apart and wasn't maintained. So mining and stones. So Sleeping Giant State Park had a quarry. They mined trap rock there. And if you look, I'm going to show a few pictures in a second. Here's one. The mining there was incredible, not in a good way. So it's kind of hard to put into context how the scale of this. This is a giant cliff face that would never have occurred naturally. As you can see, there's a lot of stones that have fallen off due to the mining that was there in the 30s. Here's another example of a lot of just these sheer cliff faces because of where the trap rock was mined away. So these are two pictures of the quarry that was there. So on the left, you can see one of the quarry buildings. On the right, there's one of the excavators from the 30s that was put on rails that was used to mine away the trap rock from this area and make those giant sheer cliff faces. So here is chemical weathering of man-made structures. So this is from one of the quarry buildings. The foundations are actually still there. So this is both physical and chemical weathering that's occurred on the side of one of these foundations from rain acidity. So in Connecticut, we're living in an area where the pH of the rain is 4.4, which is pretty acidic. It's one of the more acidic areas in the country for rain. So you can see where a lot of the chemical weathering has happened from that. Here's from the building I showed earlier. Here's the foundation, and as you can see, it's been impacted by the acidic rain. Here's one more example. I'm not sure what this building was, but it was part of the quarry. It was most likely used for storage of equipment. And so this building is made out of cement, and it has been cement blocks, and it has been kind of weathered away by that acid rain, as you can see on the side there. Basement rock. So this is from about a quarter mile down the street. So it's the same area of basement rock as Sleeping Giant State Park, but this is an area where the rock has been blasted for where a railway used to go. Now it's the Connecticut the rail trail, but this is where they kind of blasted that rock away for a train to get through. And I thought this was a great example of the basement rock that's around there. So we live on New Haven Arcos basement rock, according to the United States Geological Survey. So this is a sedimentary rock that's most likely from the upper Triassic, but this section of the rock, the one that's visible to us at the top, is most likely from the lower Jurassic. So it's also an example of kind of weathering, but that's not what I'm trying to show here. I'm trying to show the basement rock. And here is another example. So that is my Anthropocene in Context project. I really like Sleeping Giant State Park. Sleeping Giant State Park. It's one of the places that's been really important to me in my life. And from taking the earth science class, I kind of noticed a lot of those impacts of the Anthropocene epoch and the human impacts on the park that wouldn't occur if it had been left. Like those giant quarry areas where just massive amounts of the rock and the mountain have been just taken away by humans. So all that trap rock that was built up a natural sort of slope have been taken away, so now it's just a sheer cliff, and how the massive impacts have had on that, and how even the little things have had an impact. Like I never thought of just the walking of people over the tree roots would have that much of an impact on the erosion and kind of increase tenfold the effect that the rain just normally has to where the point where those roots are exposed. So I thought those very obvious things that weren't so obvious before I took the class. Thank you.